Welcome to another episode of the Sports Lodge. I'm your host, John Lodge, joined as always by my co-host, Mike Jones. And Mike, it's the weather's been nice outside here in the GTA for the last couple of days, and I guess nice for Canada is -3, -4. What have you been up to this past week? Not a lot of Leafs to watch this week.
Nothing much, just chilling out at home, trying to get things done. Obviously, not much you can do being stuck at home.
Yeah,
Just kind of don't have much to do this week. Don't have the kids, so she's at her mom's, so I'm just gonna be chilling around. Can't wait till Thursday when there actually is the Leafs to watch. Been watching what's been going on so far.
yeah, being able to check out the Bruins and the Capitals game last night. You know, we got a little bit of hockey and a little bit of sports. This is the big week leading up to the Super Bowl, of course. So we're going to have a lot of news leading up into that. And on Friday, we'll have more on the Super Bowl. But we've had some disheartening news come out of the NHL recently, and it's coming from the New York Rangers. And Mike, this is something that I don't like talking about, don't like mixing politics and sports, but Tony DeAngelo with the New York Rangers, he has played his last game with the Rangers. He got into a little bit of a fight with goaltender Georgiev in the tunnel post losing a game in overtime because he was just standing there watching the ice, I guess. I don't know. And it's come out that Mr. DeAngelo, and I say Mr. lightly because that means he's a man, is not the nicest person in the world. And he has a bit of a reputation. Why don't you give us a little bit more background on this, Mike?
Well, this has just been going on since he was in the OHL with the Sarnia Sting. He's been suspended back in juniors for abusing a ref, racial slurs, homophobic slurs. He's always had a problem for it. And it's obviously carried on into his NHL career. This is his third team already, and he's already been suspended a few times for things related like this. And he's not a guy that anybody in the dressing room can get along with. It seems like we all know he's very, very, very far right and is very, very vocal in of his views, and I don't think that should be something that he should be involving with his teammates and everything. They still have to be professional. And but like wouldn't be surprised if that's a big reason for a lot of this. But like honestly, it's ridiculous when you have to have a player that, like, what I think is rumored was Chris Kreider, come in and just really give you a couple shots to try and teach you a lesson after going after the goaltender after a loss. That's just spiteful. He should be really deserves to be gone. He doesn't, and I'm not surprised that he's probably not going to get another job in the NHL ever again. He blew his chance. He's just a piece of work.
He sounds like what we would consider a cancer to the locker room, right? He's not a guy
Exactly.
that you really want in there. He's not conducive to a good to a good culture in your dressing room, and at worst, he's taking parts of your dressing room and creating divisions in between others, right? So he's just a guy that you really don't want going on in there, and it's kind of sad because he's a decent defenseman, right? Making $4.8 million 2-year contract. He's a right shot defenseman, and his
50
skill,
points last year.
I mean, he's got the skill to possibly be in your team's top 4, but he just I don't know. It's hard to say. You have to separate your politics from your business, from your other part of life, because me as a liberal, I have a hard time doing that. But I can't understand the blatant hatred that he had shown to fellow people, mostly by the color of their skin or their orientation, how they chose to live their lives.
What he did to Keandre Miller was just absolutely terrible.
And I mean, he kept Keandre. He took the puck from
Yeah.
Keandre Miller's first NHL goal, and he refused to give it back. And this is a black teammate, by the way. So you can draw whatever line you want, but I know which one I'm drawing. And there's no reason for you to keep that puck. That's a souvenir. There's no monetary value to it. That's not Wayne Gretzky there. Maybe he's going to be a decent player, but there's no reason for you to keep that other than the fact that you're a spiteful person and you're trying to cause division, trying to cause problems.
Yeah, no, I'm glad he's gone. I don't care how good he is. He's just annoying to even just listen to. And
so, he's not going to get another shot, right? He's in the NHL. And I mean, we're talking years down the road. This is always going to be hanging over him. We're not going to see Tony DeAngelo on the ice for another team here in the NHL.
I don't think so. It would have to be like a miracle. He'd have to have a complete and total turnaround. And he has to find somewhere that he can actually prove that, right? I don't see very many options. Like, he may get some offers from overseas, but I don't see him being very good ones because, like, honestly, he's known to be a cancer in the locker room. And who says he doesn't go over there and do the same?
Right, and by over there, we're talking about the KHL, right? That's the other league that you can go to.
It could be anywhere. It could be the DEL.
DEL, the Swedish Elite League, yeah.
It could be Sweden. It could be Finland. Doesn't matter where. It just, it doesn't matter. He'll probably do the same there.
The next biggest league, though, compared to the NHL we're talking about is obviously it is the KHL. That's where that it's NHL and other than the AHL, it's the KHL, and the AHL is inherently tied to the NHL, right? So there's no way he's going to get a job in the AHL. So we're talking about going over to Russia and possibly playing there. And I mean, a team would definitely have to take a chance on him, but I can see him doing it, man. I can see a team in Russia taking a shot at a guy who scored 50 points in the NHL. I mean, we're talking about Mikko Lehtonen on Toronto, who came from the KHL and scored 50 points there and won won the trophy for their best defenseman 2 years running, right? So if a guy can score in the NHL, he's probably going to be able to get at least that in the KHL, you would assume, right? And that if that's going to be in your top defenseman's rankings, then you're going to give that guy a shot, whether or not he's a cancer, or you think he's a cancer into locker room or not.
That's touchy. Like, it doesn't always happen. Like, you got to remember, like, play on a way bigger ice surface. The style of game is a lot different. It's a lot lower scoring. And so, like, I wouldn't say exactly for sure he would get the same kind of production over there. They also play less games. Again, though, obviously this year is shortened season, probably more closer to what they play. But
well, yeah, the travel's rough in the KHL, right? So there are some like 12-hour flights to
China.
Yeah, to spots that it's really difficult to get to. So it's understandable that the schedule is less than the NHL. And I mean, you're right. He probably won't get 50 points in the KHL, but even if you could lock him in for 40, 35, right? That's a guy that you want on your team as a KHL organization.
Well,
whether or not
a team took Mitchell Miller, right? So who knows?
Yeah, definitely. All right, we got a couple other stories in the to cover when it comes to NHL headlines. And one of them is McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't want to get too far into this because we have our Canadian power rankings, the Canadian Division, North Division power rankings coming up. But we do have to mention 11 points in one game. And this is something that we should be used to with these guys. But when they do it, it's just still so shocking, right?
Oh, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. they're both ridiculous. Ottawa, in Edmonton, like, please take advantage of having these two at the exact same time. Drafted players, like, oh my God. They got to turn it around, do something with these guys, because it's not every day that you just get two star players, two of the best players in the league on the same team. It reminds me a lot of Gretzky and Messier.
Yeah, it's definitely something that the history will judge the Edmonton Oilers. It's one thing to have all those first overall picks and have them not work out, from the Taylor Halls to the Nugent Hopkins. And I think Nugent Hopkins has turned into a decent player. He's just not the generational player that people expect, from that number one slot. Um, but Neil Yakupov, et cetera. We know how that one went, for them. But I mean, history will definitely look upon McDavid and Draisaitl in a different light than those other guys. That's the point I'm getting at. So yeah, I agree with you. You got to get something done right now. Moving on before we get too far into it, because like I said, we do want to do the North Division power rankings. We had a moment last night, and I brought up the Boston Washington game in the intro. Being able to watch it, being able to get a little bit of hockey in on a Monday night. Had a moment in the Boston Washington game, and I got to assume that the Boston Bruins were feeling the sting a little bit after that that first goal by Washington coming from number 33 on a clean point shot. Not a single person in front of the net, just backed up 2 steps and a quick clapper right by Halak, and you seen Halak's face, and he's like, really, man? Like, and it had to be this guy, right? And so Boston has to be eating a little bit of crow for that one, right?
Oh yeah, he's definitely got what he said. He's got a little bit left in the tank, and he showed Boston in their face. I'm happy. Good for him.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, he's
great.
gotten 2 goals now, 2 goals in the early part of the season. I know it's a
Yep.
shortened season, so there's only going to be 56 games, but I mean, I think if he gets 10, and that's more than paid for his contract of the league minimum $750,000, right? Like, how does Boston not sign Zdeno Chara to a $750,000 contract? And I get that they would have signed him, but they weren't going to play him. How do you not play him? Like, he's showing you now for another team that you made a very, very stupid mistake.
I wouldn't say completely stupid, but like they did it would kind of seem like a little bit disrespectful in the fact that like they couldn't believe in him for that at least one more year. They couldn't believe in him for just one more year because obviously he's still being productive in Washington. He could have easily done that in Boston, but they were ready to move on. And he did so much in Boston. I'm sure that it would have worked out if he had just stayed.
Man, it definitely relit a fire. I think them telling him no,
Yeah.
like, and I think that's a mistake. Like, I understand that he's a 40-year-old man, 40 plus, on the last couple year or 2 years of his career. But have you seen this guy's workouts from home? Like, they're completely insane. He's a machine. He's a Terminator underneath that gear, and so he's not your normal 40-year-old guy. He's built differently. Guys like him, guys like Shea Weber, they're wired differently. They're going to play for as long as they can, and it's going to they'll never want to leave. Jaromir Jagr, you look at him over in Czech, right? He's still going over there. So it's just one of those things where you just makes you shake your head. I don't understand how Boston didn't have him retiring in a Bruins jersey. Ottawa made the mistake of letting him go young in his career. Boston made a mistake.
The Islanders.
Boston made a mistake, a lesser mistake, but I do think that having to every single time they have to face those Washington Capitals, that's going to come back. Like, he's going to play them extra hard, and that's going to bite them.
Well, he made the Islanders regret trading him probably when he was in Ottawa, let alone before he went to Boston.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at least with Ottawa, like, I mean, they had
great player.
He wanted to stay too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just wanted the money and the term, and they didn't want to give it to him. Yep. And it's like, really? Like, you let him just go to Boston, and now he's been a blight. He's been a blight to Toronto all those years on Boston, but thank God we don't have to see him this year. We're in the North Division, and we will be getting to our power rankings here soon. But there are a couple other stories I want to get to in the one from the NHL. Involving Zdeno Chara, and one from the KHL involving Ilya Kovalchuk. So speaking of Chara, he obviously doesn't have his full complement of gear with the Capitals yet, and we know this because apparently this week a man in New Jersey received a FedEx package that was, I don't know if it was meant to go to Prudential Center or if it was if something I don't know exactly what happened, but he ended up with a bundle of Zdeno Chara sticks. And understandably, these are very expensive sticks, and I know that you would love to have some of those. But man, if it's me, I'm returning the sticks to the Capitals in hopes that I might get one of them back signed by the big man. Because what the hell are you going to do with them? These things have a flex of like 3,000. Its power is too great for even Goku to measure. What are you going to do? Jack your car up and change your tire with some Zdeno Chara sticks? Like there's no use for them in your house.
Well, obviously, hopefully he does the right thing, but I would sit there and be like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I would do. Like
$5,000 worth of hockey sticks shows up at your door. $5,000.
I would sit there and be like, could I do an oil change with these things? Like, could I prop my car up and do an oil change with these things? Like,
man, it's insane. And just imagine the size of them. This guy is like 7 feet tall on skates, so his stick is not normal size for it. You literally, and I said this to you in the message, you could literally make 2 sticks out of every one of Zdeno's one stick. Cut it in half, use one for shinny and use one for hockey. And it would be like playing with a piece of rebar though, because like, could you imagine how your hands would feel trying to take a slap shot with that thing?
Yeah,
It'd be like using an old Al McInnes wooden stick or 2 of them taped together.
Oh yeah, no, you'd be feeling it hard.
I don't know if the man returned him. Like I said, if it were me, I'd be returning him in hopes of maybe getting something back from the big man. He's going into the Hall of Fame, so if you can get a signed stick from a future Hall of Famer, then you take that chance. Another weird stick story before we get into our power rankings, and I'll let you take this one because you've got more info on this, and I don't understand this. But the Pink Panther, he is not a player in the KHL, snuck into Ilya Kovalchuk's dressing room and stole one of his sticks because he wanted a souvenir. I would say, Mike, for him to not quit his day job because he wasn't very good, but he apparently doesn't have one anymore, does he?
Okay, here. I just want to bring it back up again. All right, so Canadian-born defenseman in the Continental Hockey League in Russia has dropped from his team after it was discovered he had swiped a stick from a former NHL star forward Ilya Kovalchuk from the visiting team's locker room. Jordan Murray was sacked by Dynamo Riga in Latvia after CCTV inside the Dynamo Riga arena showed Murray entering the locker room of Avangard Omsk and swiping one of Kovalchuk's sticks on January 28th. What was this guy thinking?
It was his home arena. If you're going to steal something, like, this is not, maybe it's so harebrained that maybe he just thought of it the day of and he's like, man, I'm going to go get me one of them sticks because I really like that for my collection. But like, if you had thought about this at all, it's your home arena. You should know where the cameras are, bro. If you're trying to steal something and trying to sneak somewhere, you think, and I'm not saying, you go all super sleuth style and you slink around and trying to and evade the cameras. No, put your damn hoodie up, put a hat on, make sure that you're not noticeable, that you're you. If you're trying to steal, like, come on, there's absolutely no brains. This is like a Steve Murray Pink Panther wannabe, like Dr. Clouseau nonsense. And well, I don't know if you get that reference, but
I do.
See him tripping over a garbage can after leaving the dressing room and then making someone comes in. It's like, what are you doing? And he's just holding Kovalchuk's stick.
Well, guess what? This guy apparently had a plan. According to reports, Murray initially intended to hide the stick inside the arena, changing its location several times before finally taking it away. He had a
Okay,
whole on plan on doing this, but forgot about the cameras.
it's just makes me shake my head. It really does. I don't understand. And it's not like Ilya Kovalchuk's stick is going to be worth that much. So he really just did this because he wanted this stick to keep in his room. You imagine your friends come over and you got to explain where that thing came from because they're on the
He
ice with you.
gave it to me.
Yeah, he
We're
gave it to
great
you. No, he
buddies.
didn't. We were there. He didn't give you it. We were on the ice with you. And I was like, no, he gave it to me. He gave it to me. He gave it to the coach. The coach gave it to me. And yeah, no. You like, I could just imagine the story he was going to have to explain this away as to why he had this in his house. And now he's got no job.
Yep, nope, he's job. No, he does. He has since signed in Sweden.
Oh, so he's in the Swedish league now, and the Swedish police are constantly keeping an eye on him to make sure that he doesn't steal any of Matt Sundin's sticks. Oh,
well, he doesn't play anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not playing anymore, but you know, he's still got sticks somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's at HV71, Swedish Hockey League.
So it just goes to show that you can be a thief and you can still get a job. So maybe there's hope yet for DeAngelo over in the KHL. All right, we're gonna do these North Division power rankings, Michael. And I sent you my rankings earlier. I have yet to see yours, so they will be a surprise to me. Probably not, but you know, maybe it'll be a surprise. But let's just, I guess we're going to go back and forth and explain away why people are in the specific position they're in. And number 7, I think we are going to have the same. Number 7 in the North Division is the Ottawa Senators, the hapless Ottawa Senators, and I'm a little bit disappointed in these Senators, man. Before the season, I was pumping their tires and saying how nice and young and well balanced their team was, and how they were going to surprise the North Division. And lo and behold, they've surprised the North Division. All right, they've just surprised them with how bad they've been. Matt Murray, I thought this was going to be a great move for the Senators. Not that he was able to really hold the water in Pittsburgh since Marc-Andre Fleury had left, but I figured he was going to be an upgrade in net for the Senators and be able to keep them in games that they weren't normally in years past. But he's taking them out of games more often than he's keeping them in.
Yep. Well, at number 7, I also have the Ottawa Senators. I feel for DJ Smith, but that's just because I'm a little biased. We obviously love him. He brought he brought a Memorial Cup back to Oshawa, which is pretty cool. But it looks like they're gunning for his head right now. Unfortunately, it's just everything looked great at the beginning of the year, a lot of potential, but it's completely turned around. They can't do anything. Like I honestly, I'm just gonna leave it at the fact that I love it. I love it. I still love it.
Tim Stützle having a rough first season. People expected a lot more out of him. Whether it was right or wrong to expect it, I don't know, but definitely not living up to his expectations as of yet. And like I said, man, Matt Murray, this goes to show that it wasn't completely off base to say that he was costing the Pittsburgh Penguins games last year.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, and that's why the other guys got the playing time that they did, and he was let go for a reason. So I don't know. I think they might have banked too much on him, but we'll see. We'll let that
let that breathe for a couple months, or at least until we get to see where they finish off.
Let's let the shortened season get by, and we can really start judging them next year. Like, I don't know, he might need to get settled. The team might need to get better defensively. We'll see.
Yeah, we can definitely attest for living in a town where the goalie gets to blame for the defense being poor. Okay, moving on to number 6, talking about poor defense, talking about not being able to stop the puck, and a goalie who may be working too hard. For number 6 for me is the Edmonton Oilers. Yes, I know I brought up earlier Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid got 11 points, but if they're the only ones scoring, then you're in trouble. Edmonton has played decently recently, as I rhyme a little bit. But at 5-6-1, I believe, or 5-6-0, it's not good enough. They're sitting outside of the playoff position right now. They're behind the Vancouver Canucks, who started out as a 2-5 team and had a little bit of a run against the aforementioned Ottawa Senators. So yeah, number 6 for me is the Edmonton Oilers, but that comes with an extended or it comes with the ability of changing that very rapidly, right? Like 6 through 4 for me is so fluid. They're changing maybe daily.
Yep. No, I agree with that, especially at number 6, I have Vancouver. They've racked up some wins, but they're all Ottawa. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not taking that for anything. I have Vancouver at number 6. Basically on that, they do have some wins against some decent teams, but they especially Montreal, but I'm just not sold on that.
Yeah.
And
oh no, go ahead, finish.
But I do like to see that Elias Patterson is starting to finally get his groove this season after that horrible start.
Yeah. Vancouver definitely hates seeing Tyler Toffoli just fill the net, and we've said that. We said that on previous shows. When they were needing the scoring early in the season, and I understand why you don't take the wins against Ottawa, or you got to take the wins against Ottawa with a grain of salt, I guess is the point. It's something that would normally concern me, but it was the amount that they outscored them by, right? It was 16-3, and the 3 is bigger than the 16 for me, because the 3 means that Thatcher Demko is figuring stuff out, and if you can ride a strong goaltender. And Braden Holtby isn't going anywhere. So even if he is the 1B, the backup, then that's a strong goaltending tandem that you can count on. They're really feeling it watching Markstrom do what he's due for Calgary, and we'll get into Calgary higher up in the rankings. It was a mistake, in my opinion, not keeping Markstrom in Vancouver. When they traded Roberto Luongo for Jacob Markstrom, I said to Jordan, our mutual friend Jordan, that Jacob Markstrom would be a number 1 goaltender in the NHL, and a very, very good one. He just needed some time. And lo and behold, Here we are, number 1 goaltender in the league, who, if he continues to have an excellent season, he could find himself in the Vezina talk, right? So a big misstep by the Canucks. I have the Canucks, though, at number 6. Or sorry, number 5, not number 6. It's just it's based on the fact of what you said. Elias Pettersson is finally getting it going, right? And then what I brought up with Thatcher Demko. So if you can get some scoring, and then your goalie is hot, and he's providing you above average net minding, then I think that they can continue to ride that. And I don't see them as a playoff team. I really don't. They need to build better, stronger as the years go. But definitely a solid 5 for me.
Yeah, I can agree with some of those points. Like the number 5 choice in my list will always probably be able to swap with the 6, but the 5-3 is where we were saying, like, your 6-4 is very fluid, could change on any day. Number 5 right now, I have Winnipeg, just because they're gonna have to deal with the adjustments of the trade. Now, obviously, Roslovic wasn't with the team any earlier, and Laine wasn't playing, but they're gonna have to, adjust to having Dubois in the lineup. Like, so hopefully that won't be much, or they'll just ease him in. And but I still think that this team just relies way too much on Connor Hellebuck right now.
I'm sorry. I'm still trying. I'm still trying to get my bearings. You have Winnipeg at 5. I don't know if you were watching the screen as you said Winnipeg at 5. I'm glad I didn't have a mouthful of coffee. I would have spit it all over my $2,000 laptop. I can't believe that. I mean, you have good points, but I don't view them as the 5 team. I was fully expecting you to have Edmonton at 5. I was so prepared to comment about how you have the Oilers at 5, and now I'm a little dumbstruck that you have the Winnipeg Jets there. I understand that Connor Hellebuck, he's had a little bit of a down year. He hasn't had quite the Vezina caliber
he's
year
good,
yet.
but he's good though, and they were just relied so much on him. That would be better if it's not like it'd be better if, like, he wasn't the only reason that they were staying in some games, right? Like it was a little, you know what I'm saying? But
Well, no, I do know what you're saying. We also, like I said, we're Toronto fans, right? So we know what it's like to have an overworked goaltender,
yeah,
right? So you don't want to overwork your netminder. And I get that Dubois is going to have to work into the lineup when he gets into the lineup. Talking about Line A, we know that Line A is going to make his first start tonight for the Blue Jackets. So we'll see exactly how he gets his feet wet and how he acclimates to Coach Tortorella for his first game. But yeah, I just see Winnipeg. Winnipeg to me is my 4. They're just with Wheeler and with Scheifele and with Kyle Connor. I know that Dubois has to work in there and get used to playing, but I think that they're good enough to just squeak into the playoffs for me. They're the last team to make the playoffs, and that is permitting that Calgary stays on the pace that they're on. Because if for some reason they can't figure it out, and that Markstrom stole them that game against Montreal, right? Like 2-0. He shut the door. He didn't allow the Canadiens to get anything going at all. So maybe that win was a fluke, maybe it wasn't. But if Calgary can't get it going, then we could be talking about Calgary as the 6, and we could be talking about Edmonton moving up and Winnipeg moving up, right? So it's a very, very fluid situation right now. We have an understanding of who the top 2 teams are, but it's a very fluid situation. But for me right now, in the way things are going, Winnipeg is my 4.
well, like we said, it's fluid. So like it's basically a switcheroo for me, and that's where I have Edmonton. And that's just because, like I said, this is going to be a weekly thing. This isn't like what I expect for the whole season or anything. This is just right now. This is at this point. And I'm just thinking because of the jump in inconsistency in offense from their top 2. That's basically I'm just riding their coattails. But that can end. That could change by the end of the week for all we know, right? So like you said, this is gonna be really fluid. That's all I have to say about that. Edmonton being at number 4, I just don't see them still being anywhere towards the other 3.
And the fact that we're hearing that Mike Smith is going to be a difference maker for the Oilers just tells me the same thing over and over is they haven't solved their goaltending issues. And it just the Oilers mirror the Maple Leafs.
Koskinen's not young.
It's really funny how much the Edmonton Oilers mirror the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? And
Yeah.
it really is. And when they play against each other, the dynamic is even the same on the ice. Marner, Matthews, Draisaitl, McDavid. It's one of those things where you're just like, wow, Toronto has more depth. Don't get me wrong. Toronto is built as a strong organization this year than the Oilers, but yeah, definitely mirrors the Leafs somewhat. And maybe they're a year behind Toronto for some strange reason. Maybe they make their Jack Campbell trade this year and they get themselves a decent backup, and then that helps them move forward, and then they fill out their defense. Who knows? But yeah, Edmonton always on the fringe and can easily go ice cold and fall right out of the playoff picture completely. Number 3 for me, Mike, Calgary Flames. The Calgary Flames are there because they've been able to remain as a decently competitive organization, even though they seem to be falling behind and showing up to the games late. Now that only happened though in the past week against Toronto and then the first game against Montreal. So that could very easily be just a fatigue situation, or you know what, it could the exact opposite of fatigue, right? They came off the 5-game layoff and then went up against a buzzsaw in the Maple Leafs, and they didn't show up to the game on time for both games against the Leafs, and they got down early, able to tie it, but the Leafs able to take the win in both those games. It's just it's one of those things where you might see that with Toronto. You might see that with Toronto on Thursday, right? This is a weird happenstance of the schedule. There are going to be times where we have 4 and 5 days off, and there are going to be times when they're playing 5 games in 7 nights. It's going to be a buzzsaw, or it's going to be a vacation, and it really depends on how the team responds out of that vacation. Right? You'd think that they're used to the fatigue more than they're used to the time off. So if they have too much time off, maybe that's what happened with Calgary. I guess is the long and short of what I'm trying to say is they've now got it going, and with a number one goaltender in Markstrom and having Giordano there to lead the defense, I just see this team being able to build on that. Having Matt Tkachuk, I understand Matt Tkachuk is the guy that everybody loves to hate, but you know who that was in the late '90s, early 2000s? That was Darcy Tucker. So, and we loved having him on our team. So we can't be hypocrites when it comes to that. Matt Tkachuk is a difference maker on that team. Johnny Gaudreau, they've got enough going for them. I think that if they can wake up out of the slumber, they can stay firm in that number 3 position. But once again, we've talked about how fluid this is. If they continue to show up late to games, if they continue to show that they don't have it, they could easily drop right down and be a 4 or 5, even a 6. It's really insane how these division games matter so much, right? And that's what. And when we're talking about the top 2 teams after this, it's interesting that you see the opposite end of that in these top 2 teams.
Well, I agree with you. In number 3, I also have Calgary. I feel like these top 3 teams are going to probably be that upper tier of this division. But like we said, we've never seen this before, so who knows? But Calgary, they've got the talent. They and see Markstrom be as strong as he is right now. Is just a reason to solidify that they're going to be a great team. They were thought that they were going to be a good team going into this, and yeah, they've been consistent lately. Other than the only teams they've been really would lose to is the 2 teams that are ahead of them. So um, honestly, there's no reason to not think that they're a top 3 team in this division right now.
Yeah, it's about putting the puck in the net and stopping the puck from going in yours. As stupid as it sounds to say, obviously we're hockey fans. We know what hockey is about, but
Well, that's always been a problem for them, right? Is keeping the puck out of the net, right? So
yeah, well they've had trouble since Mika Kiprusoff. Right, that
exactly.
was the last real goaltender they had, and he took them to the Stanley Cup final. Right, so it's one of those things where it's really hard to figure out sometimes. And when you find yourself in the desert without a goaltender, sometimes you're stuck there for 40 years. Sometimes you're there for 6 months. It really depends how you navigate the terrain. All right, so this is where it gets interesting. Our 1 and 2 teams, and I try to take my my fandom out of this. So for me, the number 2 team in the North Division is the number 1 team in the standings, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Simply based on Montreal's winning percentage, Montreal's ability to play a strong, gritty game, and the fact that they've got Carey Price back there and they've got Jake Allen as well. The Toronto Maple Leafs are playing fantastic hockey. They're starting quick, and when they get behind, they're coming back. So they're doing everything that needs to be done. But what I have to say here is we're splitting hairs between these 2 teams. These are clearly the 2 best teams in the division, and we're talking about a situation here where you're having to pick because one has 1 regulation loss and one has 2 regulation losses. Right. So it's really the smallest of differences. And for me, Toronto falls into the second slot based on the fact that they're riding just Frederick Anderson right now, and the injuries that they have with Nick Robertson, with Joe Thornton, and the possibility of and I don't know how true this is, but Alex Kerfoot did not skate today, so that could be a rest situation or that could be an injury situation. And we had Nick Patan in the lineup, so it's one of those situations where Toronto falls in the number 2 slot for me, but very easily into the number 1 slot with a good 3-game series against the Canucks.
Yeah, some really good points there. I'm the opposite. I've got Montreal at 2. just because as long as the Leafs stay could get some consistency, I feel like they've got the higher horizon. Like they have the more talent to go like off and just become unstoppable. But at that's where the point of bringing up Carey Price is like could be a different maker in that. He's definitely the better goaltender that they have there, and having Jake Allen to back him up is like, Jack Campbell's hurt right now. Like we've been stressing about who we have Hutchison right now, and it's not really a good gut feeling having that. But yeah, I know I just because they're basically at a there's a point difference right now. And be like you said, there's just that one extra overtime loss for Montreal, is it right? Yep.
Yeah, Montreal
And
has the overtime loss, and Toronto has a regulation loss. So
yeah,
or two
so
regulation losses. So yeah.
yeah, so like, they're basically at the same point right now, and anything can happen there. So like, well, this is really like so early in the year. That's why it's fun to actually do these lists so early in the year. But because anything can happen. And but no, Toronto, I think in the long run, if they can keep consistent, they have the more talent. Now it seems like they've got their defense a lot upgraded to the point where they can be a better presence in front of Freddie on every night. And once we get Campbell back, we will be solid at the backup position. And so it'll actually all come down to, I bet, goaltending, because the Montreal, obviously they've got their new guys are doing great with the team and are adding a lot of offense. So we'll
It's going
see
to
how
be
things go.
yeah, I was going to say it's going to be interesting. Josh Anderson has an injury right now and could be out for an extended period of time. We don't know yet, so it's going to be interesting to see if that's the case, how much that affects the Montreal scoring. Yeah, goaltending is a big thing for me. The Leafs. The Leafs are obviously your number one team. Talking about the Leafs, I brought up the Robertson and Thornton injuries and possibly Kerfoot. No news on Kerfoot yet. But
I didn't know about Kerfoot till now.
Thornton and Robertson, both on the ice this week,
Yep.
skating. Now, we don't have an update on their injuries, and we're not saying that they're imminent to come back. But but the point that is to be made is it's nice to see them back on the ice, back skating, especially Robertson, because it was a knee, right? And it was very concerning that his season was going to be done.
Yeah, I know, and I'd hate to see that for the kid. He's going to be a good player. Like, he's small, but you've seen the shot on him.
As I'm trying to stumble over my words, he reminds me a lot of Mitch Marner, except for the shot. Right when Mitch Marner first came into the Leafs, he was that very small guy who everyone was afraid he was going to get hurt. He was quick with the puck. He was able to move and handle it, but he doesn't have that shot that Nick Robertson has. So, and Nick Robertson doesn't have the hands that Mitch Marner has. So, like,
yeah,
there's a trade off there. But yeah, just in dimensions and the way they play, he reminds me a lot of how Mitch Marner was when he first came in.
They're like basically the same, except for their only opposite part of their attributes is that one gets the goals and one gets the assists.
Yeah, and speaking of assists, man, it seems to be back in style. The Marner point is back, and if you don't know what I mean, you go back to John Tavares' 45-goal year, and you'll notice it got famous that every time that Marner got the primary assist, and it's something that you should do anyway, but the goal scorer pointed directly at Marner, and it was called the Marner point, and it was a point in more ways than one, that seems to be back again. Mitch Marner is doing some sick things with the puck, as he has been known to do in the past. Is the Rocket, or not the Rocket, is the top, I don't know, I know the Rocket is goal scorer. Is the top point scorer title available to Mitch Marner this year? Do you think he will lead the NHL in scoring this year, possibly?
He'll be definitely up there. I'll say that, but not if McDavid continues the way he is. No.
McDavid, I guess it's
McDavid and Draisaitl, if they keep getting better like they are, it's going to be theirs for a long time.
It's going to be tough to beat those guys and understand that in my opinion, goals and assists, goals and primary assists are the same. Same weighted the same for me. I understand you have to have the finish to put the puck in the net, so there's a little bit extra on the goal. But if you can make that flashy pass to make it easy for the goal scorer to put it in the net, the primary assist is weighed just as much as the goal for me. I love Mitch Marner's game, but yeah, I have to ask the question, but the answer is the same for both of us. I don't see how Mitch Marner gets himself to be the top point getter in the NHL, but if he's a top 5 scorer, top 4 scorer, top 3 even in the NHL behind Draisaitl and McDavid, you got to look at that contract and you have to respect it, right? It's earned, it's deserved, is it not?
I believe, yeah, he's definitely earned every single penny of that contract. He's well, let's wait and see on the rest of it, but he's definitely so far the first 2 years he's definitely proven he's deserves it. He's in shortened seasons he still is on pace to have over 200 over 100 points, still basically a point per game. His whole career he's basically been a point per game player. Other than his first 2 seasons, but overall he's been basically a point per game player. So honestly,
let's remember in his first 2 years he was playing with Matt Martin.
That's very true too. He did spend time on the fourth line, but he ended up turning around and having a 94-point season that year.
Yeah, Mitch Marner definitely been he's been a draft day steal at who was drafted ahead of him. Honestly, if you look at that draft, I think he could have gone 2. Very, very easily gone 2. It was the McDavid draft, I believe. That's why I said he could have gone 2. But I know that Strome was drafted ahead of him, and I know he could have gone ahead of Strome. So
what am I doing here? Wait a
second. Moving.
Yeah, no, 100%. He could have gone 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Eichel, I still have a lot of belief in Jack Eichel. He's just always been on Buffalo.
I just think that the size and the fact that he wasn't playing center at that draft really weighed into the fact that he didn't get drafted higher. And I'll take it. Don't get me wrong. He fell to the Leafs.
No punch on nothing on Dylan Strome. He's been really finally starting to actually come around as an NHL player, but just not on their level.
And not a number 3 pick. I mean, when you look at the
history, like a light, I'd say
top 10 pick, but
I'd say more mid to late teens.
Like it was definitely a miss by the it was Arizona, right, that drafted him.
Yeah. He's not even with them anymore.
He's with Chicago. It was definitely a miss by the Coyotes on drafting Dylan Strome 3, but we'll take it. Like you said, we got Mitch Marner in Toronto, and he's proven to be a steal at even the top even the top 5 pick that he was. That he was. I believe Noah Hannafin was taken above him as well, right? And as much as
Noah Hannafin was right after him.
Oh, no, Hannafin was right after. Okay. Getting on to other Leaf topics. I brought up that they do have 3 in a row against the Vancouver Canucks. And we had talked about how Jack Campbell is hurt, so our backup is Hutchison, if you want to call him a backup. I think he's just a glorified bench warmer who has a clipboard and a pen. I don't think he's seeing any time for the Leafs, and that's the question I have. They have a day rest in between each game against the Canucks, so they play Thursday, they play Saturday, they play Monday. Does Freddie play all 3?
I hope not, but I say starts the first 2. If they go well, doesn't necessarily have to win both, but if they go well, let Hutchinson start the 3rd game, but on a very short leash. Very short leash.
I'm not quite in the same boat as you. I say Fred gets all 3 he gets all 3 starts, but if one of them get away, quick hook, give him the rest, put Hutchison in there. So if they get down 4 goals, that by like halfway through the second period, you pull Fred to the bench, be like, listen, man, like we got to get you. You have to be feeling good for the next one. Let's just put Hutch in there. This one's gone,
Yeah.
and if the offense comes back, the offense comes back. But let's get you some rest and let's get Hutch in there. So I say Fred gets all 3 starts, but one of those, if it goes badly, Fred gets the hook just for the rest.
Yep, no, that makes a lot of sense too. I could that actually that would probably be the smarter way to do it, just to ensure that they don't lose any games, have the best chances they possibly can. Yeah, no, I agree with that decision. That would be a good one.
All right, well, that's all we got for NHL talk today. We like I said at the beginning of the show, it is the week leading up to the big game, the Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. It's funny that the biggest topic that we have to talk about when it comes to the NFL is not the Bucs, and it's not the Chiefs, and it's not Mahomes, and it's not Brady, but it's Matt Stafford, formerly of the Detroit Lions, and now residing in sunny Los Angeles, California, playing at SoFi Stadium for the Los Angeles Rams. When this trade hit when the tweet hit my phone of this trade, I shook my head. I could not believe it. The Patriots were in on this deal. They were in on Matt Stafford. But I'll get into more of that later. But the haul that Detroit got for Matthew Stafford from Los Angeles proves to me that the Rams have no idea what the value of a first round pick is. And it's really funny because Matt Stafford's a former first overall pick. So they trade 2 first round picks, a third round pick, and Jared Goff for Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is a much better quarterback than Jared Goff. And Jared Goff is for sure a reclamation project in Detroit. But man, I got to think that LA overpaid.
Definitely. I don't know what they were thinking, but all I got right off the bat is I think good for Stafford. Good for him.
Well,
He's
yeah.
wanted out. He's done everything he can for Detroit. There's not, if it's not working with him, there's nothing else he can do there.
Yeah, he came to the team as the number 1 overall pick after they went 0-16 the year previous. So he goes to a team that could not win a football game to save their lives. And he brings them, he brings them 7 wins. He brings them 8 wins. And sometimes he gets them close, but it was always something. And he sees firsthand what they did to Calvin Johnson and how they treated him. And it kind of sours you for the organization. Yeah, good for Matt Stafford getting into Las Vegas, getting to a quarterback's coach in Sean McVay, having Cooper Kupp as a weapon out there. It can only do mean good things for him. Having nice weather to play in, you don't have to deal. I know that Lions Stadium was indoors, but you don't have to deal with the snow and the wind and the cold, the driving conditions. It's just it's a different planet over there in California, right? And he gets all of the good things he needs, but the Los Angeles Rams, this has to work out quick. That's what it means to me. They need to be in the Super Bowl conversation next year in order for this to make sense. And the defense is great with Aaron Donald and the like in Los Angeles, and they've got a fantastic O-line, which is something that they did not have in Detroit. Matt Stafford got hit a lot, and he's not going to get hit like that in Los Angeles. So that means good things. An upright Matt Stafford means a healthy Matt Stafford, and a healthy Matt Stafford is going to bring you good things. So it's an interesting deal, but it's one that leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth because, like I said, the Patriots were in on it. And
the Patriots being completely denied on it.
Yeah, definitely. They got shut down. Like the prom queen shutting down the chess team captain. For the school dance, as I use an 80s Degrassi reference. But yeah, Matt Stafford apparently nixed a trade to the New England Patriots, and it's something that I really should have seen coming because before the Matt Stafford news came down, the news of Matt Patricia being hired back to the New England Patriots came down. And Matt Patricia was the former defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots and won multiple Super Bowls as the defensive coordinator. And he was also Matt Stafford's former head coach in Detroit, and that did not work out. They obviously did not have a good relationship, and so I should have known off the bat, with Matt Patricia being there, that Matt Stafford would nix the New England Patriots. But apparently it went beyond Matt Patricia. Apparently it went to the fact that New England is no fun to play in. It is all business all the time, and playing for Bill Belichick can feel like a grinding and grueling job, as opposed to, you're playing a game for a living and you're making hundreds of millions of dollars doing it. So
I can see the difference between that and playing for Sean McVay, like where Sean McVay is, honestly, you can count on two hands how many years older than he is than you, like. And so like I can definitely see other reasons besides Matt Patricia why he wouldn't want to go to New England right now. And and it seems like that wouldn't have been a bad choice, because New England honestly could have done a lot better last year if it wasn't for, Cam Newton not being that great anymore than he used, not nowhere near the MVP he used to be.
he threw less than 10 touchdowns at home all year.
That's just awful. Like,
So
you only had him on a 1-year contract, right?
Yeah, he's a free agent. They're in the market for another quarterback. And it's understandable. I get it. You want to go have fun. You don't want to come to New England. That's fine. You don't have to come to New England.
And I feel like LA has more potential in the now than New England. But like we just said, the right
definitely
quarterback can change that, right?
Well, no, they definitely have more offensive weapons in Los Angeles than you do in New England. So it's a couple years of flux for the Patriots, and looking forward to who wins the Stafford deal. I think we're going to be weighing that for years to come, but most definitely next year, as to what Jared Goff can do under a new coaching regime in Detroit, and what Matt Stafford can do under Jared Goff's old coaching regime there in Los Angeles. I haven't really been high on Jerry Goff for a while. But I think that he's a reclamation project who has the ability to turn it around. I just don't see the weapons. I don't see the protection, and it's going to have to be a fundamental change in style of how you play as the Detroit Lions as a whole. So it's a wait and see approach for me to see what happens with that one. But I'm expecting great things from Matt Stafford. Finally, on the end, two more things. We're going to get a little bit into the Super Bowl, but before we do, Deshaun Watson has formally requested a trade now. But before this, it was all whispers and rumors, more shouting and rumors. But there was nothing formal from the agent, from the player, that he wanted out. He has formally requested a trade from the Houston Texans, and the rat race is on to who gets Deshaun Watson, a former top pick in the NFL draft, a guy who is every bit as good as Patrick Mahomes without the weapons that Patrick Mahomes has. So it's going to be interesting to see who lands him. But if you see what Matt Stafford got the Lions, 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a legitimate Super Bowl starting quarterback in the last 3 years, it's going to be a king's ransom for Deshaun Watson, in my opinion. I think people are saying 4 first-round draft picks, and that's just a start. So whoever gets him is definitely going to pay a hefty price. But Deshaun Watson officially out there on the trade market.
It's definitely going to depend on how many teams are that desperate to give that up, or because you never know, he might have to settle for less if he wants to get out. But they might have to.
They don't have to trade him.
They don't have to trade him. But would you want him playing, knowing that he completely does not want to play for you?
That's the worry you have, because Le'Veon Bell just didn't play in the NFL. The money isn't guaranteed, right? So you can just be like, flip them the double birds, and be like, I'm staying home. I'll throw in my backyard every Sunday if I have to. You can start, backup quarterback A, B, or C, because Deshaun Watson just ain't coming to the party, right? And he's not the only position player or the player that they have to worry about. They've got to worry about JJ Watt as well, wanting out from his contract and possibly wanting to go play with his brothers. But I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers have to figure out the quarterback position first. Big Ben wanting to come back to Pittsburgh, but the owner, general manager saying, not at that number, buddy. $44 million for is what his contract is for next year, and he is not worth $4 million, let alone $44 million.
So with these teams like going to be needing a quarterback, who do you think? Do you think they could be in on Deshaun Watson by any chance?
There are a couple teams
who
out
would you
there.
have to give up? Maybe you could have a big there might be some sort of blockbuster trade you could put together and bring JJ Watt and Deshaun Watson to Pittsburgh.
I don't see
That
New
would be
England
that would be
on
massive.
That. I don't see New England being in on Deshaun Watson simply based on the fact that I don't think they have the assets to give up. Not the picks. They could do the picks, but there'd be picks and then something else. But I see New England being in on the aftermath of the Deshaun Watson trade, right? So say the San Francisco 49ers trade for Deshaun Watson, they trade the 4 first round picks. They're going to have to do something with Jimmy Garoppolo and
bring him back, right?
He could be released for a penalty of, I believe, $2.5 million, or you pay him the $25 million for the year that he's due. I see him being released, them cutting ties with him, especially if they can make the Deshaun Watson deal work. And then that has Jimmy Garoppolo on the free agent market, and that leaves him open. And I would hope to see Jimmy G back in New England. I don't know if he can stay healthy. I don't know if if he's the quarterback that everyone thought he would be, but I do know one thing: I'd sure as hell like to try.
Yeah, no, it'll be exciting to see where he ends up going. It's another great quarterback that seems to be on the move, and there'll be a lot of changes coming into next season.
Yeah, definitely a lot of changes coming in the NFL. But one thing that never seems to change, one thing that remains the same: Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl. And once again, I believe it's he hasn't played 20 years, but this will be his 10th Super Bowl. Right. So it's one of those things where it's like this guy spent more than 50% of his career playing the championship game. And then the years that he wasn't in the championship game, Mike, he was probably in the AFC championship game. Right. So it was either you had to face Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, or you had to go through Tom Brady to get to the Super Bowl. And it's a career that will never be duplicated. But if you want to be in the conversation of the greatest quarterback ever, Patrick Mahomes has to win on Sunday, does he not?
It'll definitely help, that's for sure, because Tom Brady's not going to do this forever, but he's definitely had an amazing career that's going to be very hard to duplicate ever.
Cyborg Tom Brady in Super Bowl 77.
He's the fact he's doing it with another team as soon as he leaves. Like, first year after he leaves the Pats, he's still on his way to the Super Bowl. And the great part is that they get to do it at home this year.
They could be the first team to win it, I believe, at home. And in the NFL, where they try to hold this game at a neutral site, that's just astounding. So it's just something that another thing to add to his resume, right? If Brady wins, just another thing. Oh, by the way, I was the only one to do this.
Yep, amongst all of his records. But look at Patrick Mahomes. This is 2 years in a row now he's been in the Super Bowl. They won last year. Like, that could also be the start of something big too. He seems like he could be that guy to actually go and start having a similar success going forward. Though they have a team that they could keep together for quite a while, and hopefully they can keep up and revamp as the years go by, and continue to be so consistent the way they are. It seems like they're the unstoppable team now, especially since Tom Brady has left New England.
Yeah, they're the New England Patriots of the AFC. Yep. They're and what's funny is people are talking about the parallels that you can draw between Tom Brady and between Patrick Mahomes. And if you want to draw one more parallel, if Patrick Mahomes does get it done on Sunday, he will be the first quarterback to do so since Tom Brady in 03 and 04. So there's not much anything better we can end it on. We will have a show on Friday before the Super Bowl, so we'll be able to get our Super Bowl picks in. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Mike?
Not much. Just have to wait it out till Thursday.
Yeah, not much going on for us here in the GTA. There will be a little bit of Raptors game to watch, but it doesn't feel like home when they're playing all the way out in Tampa. It feels strange. But we'll be back here again on Friday. We'll be talking the Super Bowl, which will be coming up in just a few days from the show. We'll give you all of our Super Bowl picks. I'll have a couple prop bets out for you that you can maybe make a couple bucks on, and we'll let you know how we feel about the NHL heading into the weekend and exactly what the Leafs looked like against the night previous in Game 1 against the Vancouver Canucks. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow the Sports Lodge. We love all of you. We comment, let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know how you feel. Thanks for listening again. We're out of here. Peace.